her loyal sons. We'll get 'em on the run, boys, we got 'em on the run. Yes, we are her loyal sons. We'll get 'em on the run, boys, we got 'em on the run.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Her Loyal Sons TV, HLS TV. It's a little bit of a delayed episode. I have some Disney hangover, but we are so ready to talk about this weekend's win over UMass. I told you, Disney hangover.
This weekend, this week, it all blends.
Yeah, you know, it blends together. I feel like you're allowed to, celebrate for a couple days. So Notre Dame took on the Minutemen of UMass, and they destroyed them in the end, which is awesome. It's the kind of win that we wanted. It was a little bit of a struggle in the beginning, but it was a convincing win in the end. What are some of your thoughts, Ryan, on the game Saturday?
Yeah, it's interesting that we're doing this so late now, because at first I was like, man, that whole first half pretty much sucked. But the more time I had to process and to analyze/overanalyze the game, you're like, really? It was only a couple of bad drives, that especially on the defensive end. You had the turnover as well that went off Will Fuller's hands. So really it was, I don't know, a stretch of 8-9 minutes that was absolutely awful. And it just made you feel bad about the entire half, because even though it was very little of it, you couldn't help but feel like, God, we should be blowing these guys out a lot more, even though we went into the halftime with a sizable lead. But hey, in the second half, they did what we expected. We got to see pretty much every freshman get into in the end zone scoring touchdowns. So overall, it was good. They made the adjustments they needed. How did you feel about this?
Yeah, so actually I couldn't watch the game live. I was on vacation in Disney World, and we were actually at like a character meal. So I was like sitting there trying to like read Twitter and the ESPN app, and Mickey's coming around to the tables, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
It's the happiest place on earth. What's going on?
Trying to hug me and stuff. I'm like, wait a second, Mouse, I got some serious business to attend to. But especially like when you're just reading it and you're not seeing it, I feel like it's a lot more frightening. My dad kind of gets he can lose his cool a little bit, and he's like, well, I knew we weren't going to be undefeated. This is one of those games that they could lose. I'm like, Dad, just breathe. We're good. I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I felt a little uncomfortable at first, because again, like we said, we should be blowing them out of the water, and it was just happened to be like a concentrated stretch of them making mistakes. But UMass just capitalized on some big mistakes. So again, when you had time to think about it and time to look back on it, I was like, okay, whatever. And at least they turned it around the second half. We were riding the monorail. My dad's mood was completely changed. He was like, we got this. I wasn't worried. Sitting there rolling my eyes like, sure, Dad. So
yeah, I know you rewatch the games. Does he ever sit down and try to rewatch them at all?
Oh, yeah. And he'll rewatch them. Like, we probably have last season's games DVR'd. I'm like, Dad, really? Yeah. Hey,
no, I still have the Music City Bowl is still on there, as well as Michigan is still on my DVR. So
hey, some things they're happy rewatching. So yeah, he does. I'll catch him sometimes random.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those games to where once you do the rewatch, I think you end up feeling a lot better about things, because you have different glasses on, I guess is what you can say. Everything's going to be all right.
Yes, much like when I was going to rewatch the UMass game, I knew what to expect. Lots of freshmen in the end zone, as we mentioned, and actually a lot of record-breaking for the Kelly era. I was looking at like some articles, and I didn't realize like how I knew offensively we did like really well, but I didn't realize, like, I guess we had 681 total yards, 457 rushing, and the previous record was like 587 and 376, which was against Miami in the Shamrock Series game in Chicago. So I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And the 62 points that they scored was the most since Lou Holtz played his last game in the stadium. So
it's been a while. It's been a while since we've had this kind of domination.
Yeah.
It's very nice to actually see it. Yeah, we had to wait a half until the floodgates opened.
Right.
It happened, and I've seen this, and I mentioned it before, even in the post-game write-up that I had, me filling in for Bayou. This is what I've seen a lot of good teams do. You think they're going to lose to an FCS or equally terrible team. They struggle in the half, and then they get in the locker room at halftime, screw their heads on straight, and then it's exactly what you expect.
Yes. I mean, that's really all you can hope for, or I mean, I guess you hope for more. But my point is, if they pull it together and they can pull out a 62-point win, then or 62-point total, then I think we can let the first half go a little bit.
Yeah, of course you want to put them away early, but I mean,
exactly. But it's kind of funny because then with the Georgia Tech game, kind of the opposite happened. We fell apart in the last minute, so but they won both. What can you do?
yeah, win's a win, and they covered a huge spread, which a lot of people, I mean, ESPN, they were all saying they're quote unquote betting experts, like, oh, yeah, Notre Dame won't cover that. Nobody was expecting Notre Dame to cover it, so
and we did, yeah. So
we beat the low expectations. All right,
we did, woohoo! Rise and conquer and all that good stuff. Yeah, so a little bit of a defensive struggle in the beginning, but they pulled it together. Offense. What were your thoughts? I mean, we talked about like some of the records and things that they had, but how do you think Kaiser looked in his second start?
He looked good. The interception, even though it was mostly on Fuller for not catching it, still trying to fit the ball into a little tight window.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the bigger test is going to be coming up tomorrow at Clemson. But he's doing what he should be doing. Overall, I'm happy, considering that he's thrust into a situation that nobody was expecting him to be in the spring, much less even when the fall started with Zaire taking over. So he's doing what I think is asked of him right now.
Right.
Be making better decisions, and he's still going to make mistakes. I'm still fully expecting that he's going to trip up at some point again. But overall, I'm very happy with the way he's been playing.
I completely agree. I mean, I feel really comfortable with him, like, as our quarterback and leading the team. And again, yeah, he's going to make mistakes, but I don't find myself like chewing my nails off thinking he's going to make awful decisions or anything. I think he's just making kind of typical, couple bad throws here and there. I think that's expected. So
we're going to kind of blend topics, but how do you feel about him going on the road to Clemson, which is going to be the loudest environment he'll play in all season, without a doubt, the toughest places to play in college football. So how do you feel the same with him leading the team there, or does it make you a little bit more nervous?
I mean, I'm not going to lie, I am a little bit more nervous, but I like to be an optimist. And I think he's going to be pretty jazzed for one. It's definitely a mental thing. I think you just have to go into it like, just really ready. I think he knows what he's up against, but I think that can kind of be an exciting environment too. So I think depending how he chooses to like react and feed off that, I think it can be a good thing. So I'm not super nervous. I mean, definitely it's a concern, but I don't know. I'm hoping he kind of uses that to like motivate him.
You make a good point. I'm on the other side. I'm really nervous about this, because not just for the environment, but also with the weather. The stadium could be a gigantic puddle by the time the game starts.
That's true. That is true.
So on one hand, that leans more to Notre Dame's strength with the running game, but if people are going to know a run's coming, so at some point Kaiser's going to have to make a throw. So I think I'm going to be a nervous wreck during the first quarter, but you make a great point. Some people feed off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if Kaiser's one that feeds off of that, it certainly happened against Virginia. Obviously, that is not a straight up comparison there, but if he's one of those guys that feeds off of it, he could have himself a solid game. But I will not lie, I will be very, very nervous until I see evidence of him being able to handle this situation on the road.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I don't know. It's not like I was going to say, maybe because I don't know if we're necessarily underdogs as far as I haven't done much like reading about what people are saying about the game, but or who's favored. But
it's moved constantly. I don't know, because it was on the HLS pick'em, which will be up a little bit later. I'm behind today. It's just the way the week goes.
It happened.
We have them as a pick 'em there because that's where it was last night when I was messing around with the sheets and handed it to staff. That's the way it was on the Friday roundup. And today Clemson is apparently favored at some books by 2, 1.5. So this has been crazy. That's where Clemson started favored. Then it pick 'em. I've seen some instances of Notre Dame being favored. So, hey, even if I'm reading and trying to find this,
right? I
don't even know.
I'm not reading. So, but yeah. Okay, good to know. I was going to say, sometimes I kind of like being the underdog. It seems like kind of a cop-out, but just as a fan, it makes me like a little bit more calm because I feel like, well, there's expectations, but like, for instance, against Massachusetts, like if we hadn't blown them out of the water, I would have that's like more like those games are more nerve-wracking to me because like you said, we kind of have this schedule where it's, I think they're looking ahead to bigger games. And so I don't know if that was maybe part of the problem too against UMass in the beginning. Maybe they were kind of just a little like, whatever, Clemson next week. And then I don't know if maybe they snapped into like, okay, here and now. But point being, sometimes against like big teams like this, I'm kind of like, you know what? I feel like these are the games that sometimes Notre Dame kind of surprises you. And you're like, you were worried about it. Then you're like, oh, we got this. So I hope it ends up being that way. That's how I usually feel going into them. And then I'm sure I'll freak out in the middle. But that's where I am right now. I'm just like,
I want this game to end up much more like Oklahoma in 2012.
Yes. No, that's always my example because I always I just remember people being like, ugh, yeah, they're going to go into Norman and get their asses kicked. I just remember we went in there and we just completely dominated. And so that's like the game I always think of.
Right.
I'm like, we can do that. We can go into Clemson and show them what we got, I think.
More 2012 OU, less 2014 Arizona State and Southern Cal.
Yes. Oh my gosh, way less. Those are so painful. Painful.
And I'm not even going to count Florida State because they played well in that game. That was just a rough loss. So.
Right. Oh my gosh. I forgot about those. See? Self-preservation. But yeah, those are awful.
I'm sorry to bring it back up.
It's okay. It's good. You need that sometimes. You need that. Whew. We don't want that again, guys.
So anyway, we probably should at least clean up the UMass stuff so we can finish it up. Sorry to take us on a tangent there.
Getting back on track to the UMass game so we can tie that up and kind of look forward to tomorrow. Let's name some offensive and defensive MVPs.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
I know, right? I guess we'll start with offense.
All right.
You can go.
Offense, let's see. I tell you what, at this point, I'm going to go with CJ Procise just because of the incredible games that he's having, and he got 100 yards in the first quarter, which was absurd. Even with the Irish having a couple drives that had issues early in the game, if he got the ball, it was not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I mean, there's so many freshmen you could give an additional hat tip to on this one. Maybe not an MVP, but impressive to see the showing by Brandon Wimbush at running. He's got a cannon for an arm. Man, I hope he manages to play some more this season because he's fun to watch. Yeah,
I agree. I think CJ Procise would be my choice for this game, and kind of we're 4 games in now, so kind of almost like an overall offensive MVP up to this point.
Yeah, 600 rushing.
So, yeah.
The guy that was a receiver before this past spring. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, CJ Procise, whenever he gets the ball, you always know it's going to be good things happening. He always keeps his legs churning. I love watching him play. He's awesome in my book.
Yeah, and a true run threat, which we haven't had in forever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, still can't wrap my head around the fact that he started as a safety. So, segueing into defense, let's pick a defensive MVP.
Man, gosh. This one's super tough because everybody had a really good performance. We had a little bit of a lapse, but
right.
I mean, they started well. They had the quick lapse. Secondary still looked shaky-ish at some points. I said eventually I'm going to give one to Sheldon Day for being a consistent, disruptive force. I think this is a good week to do it. He was definitely a disruptive force in the backfield. I mean, everybody kind of stepped up, especially in the front 7, had a pretty solid game. So we'll go ahead and go with the Dreads on Day.
Yeah, I like that. Dreads. And I just want to pick Joe Schmidt because I haven't mentioned him enough this season. So. Oh man, that's the president of the Joe Schmidt fan club. Yeah, I haven't shouted it out to Joe Schmidt lately, so I'm just picking him because I can. Because it's our program, and yeah, just roll with it. We do what we want. We do what we want. Okay, so that kind of wraps up UMass. I mean, there's not much to say about it. We won. Yay. So moving on to the bigger test. This episode's late, and we know everybody's like, the hell with talking about UMass. Exactly. About that. We are looking ahead to tomorrow's game against Clemson at Clemson, which is going to be crazy. We've already talked a little bit about the atmosphere and how we feel about Kaiser. What are some of your other thoughts going into the game tomorrow?
I mean, the weather's on the mind, which has been and one of the most popular posts we've had at HLS in some time. It's a big concern. Everybody's concerned about the weather. Rightfully so. When our freaking hurricane's coming inbound,
a little concerning.
But in all seriousness, it's both good and bad. We talked a little bit. Kaiser may have to make some throws in a freaky monsoon, which is a little nerve-wracking. But on the other side of the equation, Clemson's strength is their Deshaun, not spelled the way our Deshaun's is, but Deshaun Watson, very solid quarterback, one of the best in the nation. I know Kavari Russell maybe thinks he's not so great, but he's good. Down one of his top wide receivers, has a line in front of him that's young. But my big concern, of course, was secondary going against Watson. And if the weather is going to be like we think it is, that's going to ground that piece of Clemson's game dramatically, which is going to make things a lot harder for them, which kind of makes me feel a little bit better. But that's not to say that Clemson's rushing attack is non-existent. They have a back, their leading rusher, Gauman, I believe I'm saying that right. He's got 310 yards and 3 touchdowns on the seasons on 53 carries. So not exactly, terrible.
Right.
And you got to remember, Clemson has a bye week, so that's only 3 games there. It's about 100 yards a game. So
we're getting into our stretch where all the teams have a bye week before they take on Notre Dame. I think that was the ACC's way of kind of saying, well, you're not really in our conference sort of thing.
Hey, whatever. I mean, it's all good. And apparently I linked something on the Friday roundup, and I forget what it is off the top of my head, but September buys are not as good as you would think. The races are actually down as far as success, and the win rate goes down in September. And I theorize the reason is that September you typically don't play great opponents, so you really haven't hit your stride yet in the season.
Yeah, then you're taking a week off.
Right. So I'm hoping that stays true, especially with it being, a slop out there. Notre Dame, you could say UMass was a glorified bye if you want to take the other side of that coin. They had to play a physical game against Georgia. You hope that the Irish are not too beat up by, playing some tougher opponents than Clemson would have. But, I think my biggest fear is gone. But, on the other end of the ball, can CJ Procise do what we think he can still do? Can he keep this up? Is he going to get beat up as well? How can he run in less than optimal conditions? We don't know the answer to that yet.
Yeah, I guess there are. I mean, this game kind of has a lot of outside factors besides just the physical sport of football, I guess, which does make it a little bit more concerning, I guess. And if weather conditions are going to be the way they are, then, you kind of take some mystery out of your play calling. So that can be a little concerning. And CJ Procise gets a lot of carries. And I was going to say, going back to the UMass game, I think it was like our first game where he didn't have a season-ending injury, because I know Robinson hurt his knee, but I don't think he's out for the season or anything that I heard. So
I haven't seen anything that says we have the season.
So because I was going to say with those weather conditions and stuff, that doesn't sound fun either.
Right. Yeah, so that is a concern. And also, I also wonder, because Kelly did say it this week in press conferences, he would consider giving Wimbush a limited a package designed specifically for him in future games. And if it turns into slop and you got a guy that's a better running quarterback than
Kaiser.
Yeah, I wonder if you see
coach.
Yeah, I don't think Wimbush will start like the LSU game, but kind of in the same vein to where, hey, if we need to, spread the field running wise, the guy that can do it just by his very presence. So I wonder if that's going to be a factor in there. In fact, that's why I made it the prop for this week's pick'em. Is he going to get in a I have to replace Kaiser injury capacity? Is he going to get?
Yeah, that would be good. We want it in a non-injury capacity. But I guess it's good to know that we have that as an option,
Yeah, and he floated that out there. That could be him screwing with Dabo just to force something that won't happen. We'll see. And it's going to be very interesting. And again, you got the environment there, and you have the weird. I don't know how much of this you caught, because I don't know if this happened when you were catching up for sleep from your vacation or what, but the manufactured disrespect that Clemson has brought up this entire week.
No.
Have you been blissfully unaware of this?
I have been blissfully unaware of this.
It may be the dumbest thing I've ever seen, because after the game, Will Fuller tweeted that it was going to be Savage for Clemson.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. Which is where if you've kind of wondered on Notre Dame Twitter, listeners out there, why people are hashtagging Savage, that's why. Because apparently that has shown that Clemson is being disrespected by everybody, Notre Dame and everybody else. It is the weirdest little brother syndrome, worse than I've ever seen from Boston College, more weird inferiority complex than I've ever seen from Michigan, trying to always one up the Irish in some way, shape, or form. It's been weird.
That is really weird.
Yeah, because and when it first kind of hit critical mass, because I know you were, I think, on your way back. I don't know if you were home yet. It hit kind of critical mass then, to where the Clemson media and the blogs were, writing about it. Tigers are done playing nice, and Clemson feels disrespected. And we're like, who have you been freaking listening to?
Right.
A lot of people are. Clay Travis that same day put out something to where, and I don't read him. This was forcefully put in my timeline by somebody. But saying it's like, I don't even know why Notre Dame's traveling to Clemson. They're just going to get absolutely smoked. It's like, oh, okay. There's usually Clay Travis hot take there.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of people picking Clemson. I don't know where the disrespect is coming from. But for me, the best part is Clemson has a Twitter ban instituted by Dabo, yet they're getting mad about tweets, only in college football.
Yeah, that's so strange. I had no idea, but it makes sense now. Okay, my timeline makes a lot more sense. So strange.
The best part is you didn't really ask about it. It's like, I'm just going to leave them.
I was like, sure. Roll with it. Savage. Okay, interesting.
So little random aside.
Yeah, a little random aside.
Strange storyline that will be in this game. At least I doubt it gets mentioned on TV. If it does, it may just die laughing.
Who pays attention to TV? You read your Twitter timeline, right? I mean,
exactly, because you got to make the recap, man.
You do. You have to make the recap. Plus, half the announcers start to annoy me, and I watch on mute. So I much rather listen or read my Twitter commentary.
We get Herbie for this game though, so hopefully it will.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, sometimes I can't take it.
especially when we have to be subjected to Doug freaking Flutie on NBC.
Oh my gosh, and I feel like you get the same backstory. And when I was a quarterback, we get it. I'm great.
It would be fine if that's what he did. He just doesn't seem to know what's going on. He's just bad, flat out. This isn't me hating him because he went to Boston College.
Right, exactly.
Not good at his job. He adds nothing. And I know Mike Mayock, he didn't have, he kind of declined a little bit last year, which was okay. But, I mean, in comparison to what he brought to the table than what Flutie does, I have no idea why NBC made that decision.
My dad watches the TV but listens to the radio. He's always done that because he likes the guys on the radio better.
Yeah, I'm close to watching the games on mute myself.
I'll do my own commentary.
There we go. Live commentary from a drunk guy sitting on his couch. I do know people that's apparently, I've seen a thing, at least for the Cowboys, to where it's like a fan audio feed. You can't legally play-by-play it, but you can. I
gotcha.
You can kind of give commentary as to what's going on. So it's like fan color commentary. It's how they get away with it. I've heard some clips from it before. It's been replayed on our because it's some local radio station guys that do it, and it's pretty funny. So
I'm sure that's priceless.
I can only imagine what that would turn into based on Twitter feeds alone. It would not be. We would
be entertaining if nothing else, but I don't know, maybe frighteningly entertaining.
You would have to turn the volume down quite a bit.
You'd have to have it pretty low. Yes.
Anyway, so what the hell were we talking about? Clemson
and how their families being all weird.
Yeah. But what are you looking for as far as matchups, Molly? What would Molly's keys to the game be?
My keys to the game?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I think for sure, in a game like this, you need a really good, fast start. I don't think you can have what happened against UMass happen. Granted, I mean, it's kind of scary because I say that was UMass, but that was UMass. That shouldn't have happened. They were able to recover, but I think in a game like this against Clemson, where it is, I mean, I think isn't College game day down there. There's just a lot surrounding this. Clemson is a good team. I just don't think you can fall behind, and I don't think you can allow yourself to be in a hole, because I think Clemson would just completely eat that up and just run with it. So I think just a good, fast start on offense, and just the defense, you know, really holding the team in there and not making mistakes and letting up big plays, which, you know, it happens. But I just think this is one of those games where I feel like one of those dumb announcers that makes all those generic comments. But I was going to say, I feel like this is one of those games where the mistakes are really going to matter, and the team that makes the least amount of mistakes is going to win. But no, I really think it's true. I think this could be one of those games with, you know, with the weather and all those factors, that one, you know, big momentum shift could really kind of be the game. So I think a good quick start.
We even talked about ball security with all the crazy weather. That's, you know, even if we're running, that's a huge deal. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm just, you know, I think that's one of those things like where, you know, say, God forbid, we did fumble or something, you know, they scoop it up, they have a big play. I think that's one of those things where when you're at Clemson and the, you know, the fan base is behind them, I think that's like a huge momentum shift. That could be like, crap, we're in trouble now, you know? So just kind of minimizing mistakes and just
and that's really a good point. It's making sure that you don't let them back into it and keeping the crowd out of it, because the Irish have started well pretty much in every single game this season.
Right.
They come out to a lead. The problem, and we saw it against UMass, was, you know, at the end of the first quarter, they gave them hope, and then all of a sudden they're back in it. Now, they weren't back in it for long.
Right.
Virginia, for instance, when they're on the road there, they let them back in, and then disaster struck when Zaire went down.
Right. And I mean, Georgia Tech, had we not had as big of a lead as we did, you know, they only came back within that last minute. But my goodness, the amount of points they were able to get in that last minute, I'm just afraid that against a team like Clemson, if we were to give them hope, it could be a little disastrous. So,
and imagine if we were playing at Georgia Tech in that game. I mean, all this off the crowd, you get that momentum, and you never know what's going to happen. You could have one of the craziest comebacks in college football history. So yeah, that's really the big thing. And gosh, I wish I could remember, because it just came into my head. Who keeps saying this? Somebody always talks about a stat, and I forget. I think maybe it's Pete Sampson of BBG's defenses replying after turnovers, and pretty uniformly terrible. I mean, we're talking almost every single time they give up a touchdown. And if you look this season, when Notre Dame has coughed up the football, it usually results in a touchdown for the other team. So it's not just the momentum of, oh, yes, we got the ball back. It's the momentum, oh, yes, we got the ball back. And now it's a huge swing on the board as well. So, yeah, I think that's a really great point, you know, making sure you hold on to the damn ball. The defense doesn't give up something backbreaking, because if you get Death Valley rocking and rolling like they can get, man, I would be drinking heavily.
Yeah, everybody have your booze ready for celebratory reasons as well. But yeah, I feel like Notre Dame football, you always need your alcohol.
Yeah. Like I said on the roundup, I'm going with mixed drinks only for the fact that I know this is one of those where I'll be nervously, you know, keep hitting it continuously, and you just can't do that with straight bourbon. I will die before halftime.
That's a good point. So we should be giving drink recommendations as well. So mixed drinks this game, guys.
Lots of it, or the beer. It's just something that you can, you know, like I said, it's that reflexive, you know, like stress eating, or you know, this is stress drinking. So that's
beer can fill you up quickly. So this could be one of those games where you might want to lay off that a little bit, you know.
Yeah, because that can end in disaster. Well, especially if because I will stress eat. So if I'm in the combo stress eating and then stuff up with beer, that's disaster as well.
Yeah. So this is just a friendly reminder to everyone out there: choose your alcohol wisely.
HLS TV would like you to stress drink responsibly.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a terrible alcohol safe slogan.
It's true though. I mean, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, the life of a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
And the recap. I think it's I don't know if it's the handle, but Bridget Joyce had one, and I'm still laughing at it. It was, what though the odds be great or small, Notre Dame fans will need hard alcohol.
Love it. That is so true. Good. That should be like cross-stitched or something. I want that in my living room.
That's gonna have to end up in the recap madness tourney, because that was a stroke of genius right
That
there.
was good. I know. I'm sitting here like, how has no one thought of that before? A+ shout out. Yeah, it's a good one. I like that.
Okay, so we're about hey, we got through a half hour, so we're good here with the delayed episode, and it will look much better once it's all edited, because
Yes.
Google
Oh,
forms apparently are hitting Google right now, because we've been having all kinds of fun recording this episode, but we fought through it.
we did.
Good job.
We fought through it. We got a victory, just like the Irish are going to do tomorrow against Clemson. Do you like that segue, guys?
Yeah, we burned the boat to make sure we got through this entire podcast
We
here.
stuck with it. We could have quit, but we're not quitters here on HLS TV.
Hell no.
We're not. Nope. Nope.
All right.
So,
So, I mean, anything? Are we good? Are we forgetting anything? I know you got some notes in front of you, so I think we got it all.
I think that's pretty good. I mean, I'm just super excited for this game tomorrow and hoping I can stay awake. That's the only thing about night games.
Yeah,
You'd think being a night shift person, I'd be like totally all over these night games, but I get tired sometimes. So I'm going to take my mid-afternoon nap and be ready to cheer on the Irish.
there you go. And yeah, I got to pace myself with the nervous, like I said, the nervous stress drink.
That's true.
I gotta,
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to make it. But thankfully, the kid helps with that, because if
There
I'm
you go.
attending to him, I can't quite consistently.
You can't quite drink so much. Yeah.
So maybe that will help out as well.
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Sounds good. I think that about covers it.
All right. Sorry for the delay, everybody, but hey, we
Yeah.
got through it. Make sure you're subscribing to us on iTunes. Search for Her Little Sons. You'll find us. And we also have the podcasts on the menu bar of herlittlesons.com. Click on podcasts. You'll find us there. Find us on YouTube as well. Subscribe to the Her Little Sons channel, where you can see the video of us. We're very expressive. We're making
We are.
we're doing everything. So, however,
Totally worth it. We talk with our hands. You
yeah,
know,
it makes it fun.
it
And
does.
it's always a lot better to look at than it is listening to my voice. So we have that as well. That's the other bonus of going to Her Little Sons on YouTube. So yeah, I got the promotion stuff out of the way. Molly, got anything else?
I mean, as always, thanks for listening. And I think other than that, go Irish, beat Clemson.
All right, go Irish, beat Tigers.
Since we are alone.